A mere 4 years later, the sequel to Mission Impossible released with John Woo being the director. If you look at the Rotten Tomato score, the movie was not as well received as the first one. But I watched the movie again. I watched Mission Impossible 2 with Tom Cruise reprising his role as Ethan Hunt. Mission Impossible 2 is the sequel to Mission Impossible, the 1996 film, and is the second installment in the Mission Impossible film series. I made a statement in my 1996 Mission Impossible video. If you want, you can just go back and check it. It's in my channel. It's the video right before this one. And this is what I said. In fact, it's one of my favorite action franchises. I love all the installments of the Mission Impossible, and yes, even Mission Impossible 2, but I will get to that in the next video. And I meant every word of it. I actually like Mission Impossible 2, but for different reasons, not for the reasons that I think most people expect, or maybe they do. I don't know, but when I watched the movie again, and I just done watching it, I actually enjoyed it. I really did. I'm gonna be honest with you folks. I enjoyed the film. There are several things in this movie that are very enjoyable, very entertaining. And if you know John Woo, you know that he can make action look stylish as hell. And I think one of the main reasons why I enjoy this film is that it has the markings of a mass Telugu film. I can totally see this exact story being done in Telugu with Telugu actors. It would turn out almost exactly the same. It has that kind of mass action movie kind of feel to it. If you're an Indian and you watch Telugu movies, you know what I mean. There are problems with the movie, and I do agree with the majority on the fact that this is the weakest of the Mission Impossible franchise. But I enjoyed the aspects of this film so much. There are parts in the movie where the movie does tend to get a bit slow, but I'll get to the negatives in a minute. The action is very stylized. If you watch a John Woo film, and as I stated before, the action is very stylized. You get a lot of slow-mo shots. Like when you watch this film, you know that it is a movie made by John Woo. And I kind of miss the dude, man. I miss the days where I could watch a John Woo film and be entertained by it. I mean, if you watch the movie Face Off, you know what I mean. And the guy knows how to direct action. Like, he knows how to make action very entertaining, at least from the few movies that I have seen of his. And this is no exception. Here, the action is very entertaining and if you can digest the overwhelming amount of slow-mo shots, not as much as Zack Snyder does in his films, but he does use slow-mo shots a bit too much. If you're forgiving of that, then you will find the action very entertaining. And the cinematography is awesome. I love the shots in the film, and I like the certain stylistic choices that he made with the film. Some I agree with, some I don't, but visually it is very, very good. I like the performances for what they're given. They do the job really well. Tom Cruise is great as Ethan Hunt. I love this character in the Mission Impossible franchise, and I mentioned this in the previous video. The dude has my respect. This guy puts his life in mortal danger, and we get to see the end product of it. If you look at the introduction scene where Tom Cruise is climbing the mountain, or climbing, cliff climbing, when he made that jump, he actually injured his shoulder while doing so, but there was no safety net below. So if he failed to make that jump, and if the thin wires or the harnesses broke, then that would mean certain death. That would mean death. He would have died. But he still went ahead and did it. And the reason he stated is that he felt like there was no better way to introduce the character. I enjoyed that. But the problem lies, while I respect the hard work and I respect what he did to make it work without using any body double, without using any stunt doubles or any safety equipment aside from a harness and a thin wire, he has immense respect in my book. Whenever I watch a Tom Cruise film, I don't know how he does all this thing and still come out like as if this is just another day for him. But my issue lies with the storytelling. While it is a very cool shot or very cool scene, it is a dope way to introduce the character, it doesn't serve anything story-wise. There was no need for that. The ending of that scene is just him getting the message like, oh, you have a mission, should you choose to accept it? The movie title shows up and then we get on with the mission. That scene had zero purpose. It's just a dope way of introducing it. Something which you find in most Telugu films. You see the connection I'm going with? I like the locations. I love the different locations the movie is shot in. And another thing that I love from this movie is how this movie has inspired a lot of Indian cinema. You cannot deny the fact that there was a lot of movie, at least I can name a few, at least I can name 3 movies off the bat, that was very much inspired by this film, and there's no denying it. Maybe there have been other films that did the same shot, but this is the movie that popularized it, at least in my opinion. For example, the car scene where the 2 cars rotate and then you see the shot of Tom Cruise and his love interest. That exact shot has been used in the movie War and in the 2015 movie Dilwale. I can most definitely say that this is the movie that inspired it. And there is a scene somewhat in the climax, during the bike chase scene, where Tom Cruise gets out of the fucking bike and he's on his side with his hands holding the handlebar. This exact scene is used in the movie Dhoom 2 with Abhishek Bachchan and Uday Chopra doing the exact same stunt with their bikes. So I can most definitely say there are a lot of movies that took inspiration from this. And while this was not that well received in the US, I can definitely see a lot of Indians enjoying this film because of so many inspirations that this movie has gotten, and it has entertainment value. The scene with Tom Cruise jumping out of the helicopter to kill the virus, that whole scene is thrilling. While the tension is not as high as I would have liked, considering the 1996 film had a lot more tension. This movie have a relatively lack of tension because of the mass action type of execution, but that is expected with a John Woo film, so I can't argue against that. But the execution is essentially the drawback. One of the major drawbacks of the film is that it is a sequel to the 1996 film. The remaining 4 has not released yet, so you had only one other movie to go back of. That was the movie that was released 4 years back, which had a lot of tension. The movie from start to finish was tension filled. Not so much here. Some of the story beats just don't make sense for me, and I do not like the villain's motivation to keep his ex-girlfriend there. It was just stupid to me. His reasoning, like he is suspicious of his ex-girlfriend suddenly coming into the fray, like yeah, he got her out of jail, but he is suspicious that she's there, and there's a discussion with his right-hand man, but that's but the reasoning he gives is so stupid to me, and even his motivation seems a bit off. Before I get to my major problem with this movie, I would like to point out one other thing that I liked. In the previous Mission Impossible, they used the masks to hide their face. Even that is used in Dawn 2, where Hrithik Roshan cameo. Remember, he takes up the mask and it's Shah Rukh Khan. That is definitely taken from Mission Impossible. Maybe not this movie, but definitely Mission Impossible. But anyway, I did like the manipulation using the masks, because the twists happen in the movie, and majority of the twists that happen is with the mask. Like the introduction of Tom Cruise, you would think at first, if you're watching this for the first time, you would think it is with the plane, with the doctor, but you would be mistaken. His introduction is with the cliff. At the climax, there is a twist, which then leads to the bike scene. I enjoyed that very much. Now, my major problem with the movie is this. This is not a Mission Impossible movie. Nothing about the execution, nothing about the character motivations makes sense. This is not an accurate portrayal of Ethan Hunt, with the only knowledge I have being the previous film after that, because I cannot, connect him with the later installments, because this has essentially become a filler movie because of the reception that it got at the time and even now. So this film is officially like filler, like as if it never happened. The next installments have a new love interest and something like, different stories. What I mean by my previous statement being that this is not a Mission Impossible movie and this is not Ethan Hunt is that the way Ethan Hunt is portrayed in this film and the way the story beats go, how the story is told to us, aside from the mass Telugu movie-esque style or type execution, you get the feeling that you're watching a Bond movie. Even when I watched it for the first time, that is essentially what I thought. And this is what made it the weakest movie in the Mission Impossible franchise, and that is that this is not a Mission Impossible movie. This is a James Bond movie under the cover of a Mission Impossible movie. Ethan Hunt is essentially James Bond. He's portrayed as this playboyish character. The romance with the love interest is so sudden. In just one meeting and one adrenaline rush later, they're doing it. It was just weird when you watch that. At least it was weird to me how sudden the love story happens and how similar it is to the beats of a Bond film, something along the lines of a Pierce Brosnan Bond film. This movie is similar to that in the story beat context. That is my major problem with this film, and that's what makes it the weakest film in the franchise for me. Aside from that, the movie is entertaining as hell. If it was not under the name of the Mission Impossible franchise, it would have made for a dope-ass action movie. But sadly, this is under the Mission Impossible franchise. It is the second installment. And while I appreciate Tom Cruise's dedication to the craft, like there's a scene at the climax where the bad guy has a knife just centimeters away from his face during a fight scene, of course. And that is a real knife. The way they did it was that they rigged it just so that it falls just a few centimeters away from his eye. Imagine the danger. He could have gotten blind or most probably died from that. His dedication to film, immense respect, man. I even if I was an actor doing films, I would have never have done what he does every single movie. And that's what makes the movie have rewatch value, because I like to see Tom Cruise doing all this. And the action scenes, cinematography, everything else works. There is entertainment value in the film. It's just unfortunate that it was under the guise of a Mission Impossible. It's under the cover of a Mission Impossible brand. Had this been any other action movie, it would have been a very enjoyable, good to masterpiece kind of film. Unfortunately, this is a major drawback for me, and that draws it so low. But it is a very enjoyable movie nonetheless. I feel like I rambled on long enough. It is a movie that if you haven't watched it, I would suggest you watch the first one, the 1996. Then watch this movie. But this is a very enjoyable movie. As a standalone movie, it is very good. It has a lot of entertainment value. It has great action. It has stylistic action. It has that John Woo signature, the one with doves and pigeons. You get to see the John Woo signature in this film, which is the birds flying while something is going on. You get the birds flying. That's a signature John Woo move. That is something he does in every film. And you get to see that in this movie as well. Excuse me. If it is on OTT platforms, then I would really suggest you give it a watch. If you haven't watched it already, then definitely do give this a watch. It is very entertaining. You will find it very enjoyable. It's definitely a must watch if you haven't already.
Girl, you shut me down and there's no witness. Got me in my feels, she would never listen. All the alcohol is in my liver. I guess I lost and you're the winner. Missing your touch, you were a good kisser. I was born a saint, but now I'm a sinner. Falling for you.